everybody. Happy spring break. I hope you guys are enjoying a little bit of time off of school and doing some fun things this year. My name's Pam, and I am a yoga teacher here in the area. And so I'm here today to teach you all a little bit of yoga and lead you in a class, maybe get you to use your breath a little bit and stretch some muscles and help you move. I have a job in healthcare, and I might use some words that maybe you'll even learn a little bit. Spring break, you don't want to learn too much, right? But hopefully you'll learn a little bit about your body too. So if you've never done yoga, you just give yourself a break. It's not about being perfect. It's about being where you're at in that moment. So we'll get started. The way that I start my yoga classes usually is I start kind of in a centering pose. And so my favorite way of doing that is just by finding a spot. You don't have to have a yoga mat. You can have a towel. You can have just a spot on the floor. You don't have to have anything special to do yoga. But if you've got a mat, lay it out. I'm going to lay down on my back. We'll do just a little bit of breathing, and then we're going to start out on our back. So just clear yourself out enough space in whatever room you're in, and let's get started. So we'll go ahead and we'll find a position on the back. I'm just going to lay my legs out nice and wide. My arms are going to come down my side. Maybe you close your eyes and you just begin to breathe. If you're breathing, you're doing yoga. That's like a secret that nobody tells you. But if you are finding your breath, you are doing yoga. So let's just begin to make a pattern with the breath. We're going to breathe in for the count of 4. Breathe in through your nose. And breathe out your nose for the count of 4. And just do that, breathing in and then breathing out. And just kind of making a pattern, kind of listening to your breath. We call it Ujjayu Breathing, which is just a fancy yogi word, but it means just breath of life, breath. I want you to think maybe with that breathing, you can kind of hear what might sound like the ocean. So if you're breathing big enough, you might be able to make your breath sound like that pattern of waves on the ocean. So just a few more deep breaths in and then deep breaths out. And by doing this, it's a great way to calm your brain, calm your body. If you are having a rough day at school, if you're having a rough day with your friends, you can use your breath anytime you want to calm yourself down. And the cool thing about it is that nobody's ever going to know. You can do it without anybody even knowing what's happening with you. You can just pay attention to your breath and you can calm yourself. It's a pretty great tool to have. So just a few more deep breaths here. And then go ahead and reach your fingertips high above you. So we're going to stretch, lengthen through the arms, reach the toes, really curl your toes, maybe make big fists, and then lengthen, 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 lengthen. Feel your belly stretch out. And then kind of let it go just a little bit. Now I want you to take your feet and we're going to walk them over to the left side of your mat or wherever you're laying. You could stay right here, or we're going to take the arms and we're going to walk them over to the same side. So your body is kind of making a banana shape, kind of a banana, maybe like a moon shape. You're really stretching. You should feel a really nice stretch through the right side of your body. So just a couple more breaths here. Maybe big, deep breaths. You can really fill those lobes of the lungs on your right side with a little more oxygenated blood. And then slowly come back through center again. Reach, 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 lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. And then we're gonna walk the feet to the right side of your mat, and we're gonna stretch the arms the same way. So you're making that moon shape to the right, and really feeling that nice stretch all the way from your left toes to your left hand. Just a couple more breaths here, maybe taking your mind to your left lobes of your lung and really filling them with fresh oxygenated air. And slowly come back to center. Now we're gonna bend the knees, and we're gonna take the knees mat width distance apart. So if you don't have a mat, your knees are just a little bit wider than if you had your feet coming straight out of your hips. Now we're gonna keep those feet nice and wide, and then just let your knees windshield wiper. So we're just gonna let them fall from one way to the other. So like the windshield wipers on a car, just going back and forth. Just a few more times. You should feel this in your hips. Really nice rocking motion here. Now from here, go ahead and we're gonna lengthen the left leg long. We're gonna bring the right knee in and give it a hug. So if it's early in the morning, like I'm doing this early in the morning, you might be a little tight. So you just give yourself a little bit of peace and grace to be where you're at. So I'm hugging my right knee in. And then as I'm here, I'm gonna go ahead and circle my ankle, big circles of the ankle one way. And then I'm gonna circle the ankle the opposite way. And then hug that knee in. And now I'm gonna use my left hand, take my right hand out to the side, and I'm gonna bring that knee across the body, coming into a nice twist. So coming into this nice twist, I would love it if you kept your right shoulder on the ground. So sometimes that means that you can't twist quite as much as you think you should, but if you keep your shoulder on the ground, that's a little bit healthier for your spine. So we're just gonna take a few more really deep breaths here. Remember that yoga is all about the breath. So as long as you're breathing, you're not doing it wrong. Just a few more breaths here. And then slowly bring that knee back. Hug it in again. And then we're just gonna switch it out. We're gonna bring the left knee into the chest. Give it a big old hug. Really squeeze it in. You should feel a really nice stretch through your left hip. And then begin to circle that ankle really big. Nice big circles. Hearing those joints kind of pop and crack. Pretty good for you. Just a couple more breaths, kind of squeezing it in. And then we're gonna use our left hand, your right hand, take your left hand out to the side, and we're gonna come into that twist of the body. So you should feel a really nice opening of the hip, but I want you to try to keep that left shoulder down on the mat. So hanging out here, excuse me, just for a few more breaths, really getting a nice twist of your spine. Just about 3 more deep breaths. So when I say deep breaths, I mean that breathe in for the count of 4 and breathe out for the count of 4. So maybe 1 more deep breath here. And then we're gonna come back, hug that knee in again, and now we're gonna hug both knees in and just kind of rock back and forth on the spine. So giving your spine a nice massage, maybe taking the knees and circling them one way, and then circling them the other way. And then bringing a hand to each knee, and we're gonna push the knees forward, and then we're gonna breathe out and we're gonna pull them into the chest. So we're gonna breathe in, push them forward, breathe out, squeeze them in. Do that one more time. Breathe in and then breathe out. All right, now we're gonna come into a pose called Happy Baby. A lot of yoga poses have fun names. Happy Baby is one of my favorite yoga pose names, but another funny name, which is way funnier than Happy Baby, it is also named Dead Bug. So crazy, but picture a dead bug. So you're gonna try to grab both of your toes and maybe you just rock side to side. So if you picture a bug that maybe just is laying on its back, can't get off of its back, it's kind of stuck. So we're just gonna roll back and forth. This is great for your back. It's good to open up your hips and it feels kind of fun too. So from here, maybe you bend one knee and then you switch. So just kind of moving through the legs. And then go ahead and hug those knees in again, rock side to side. Now we're gonna come into a pose called bridge pose. So you can picture what it's gonna look like. You're gonna kind of look like a bridge. Think about maybe like a bridge that goes up and comes down. So we're gonna have the heels by the hips. Like if maybe you can touch your heels with your fingertips, that's a good place that you know that you're in the right spot. So, and your legs just come right out of these hip bones. So you should be able to feel right on the front of your body, your hip bones, and your legs are just going straight forward. So we're gonna think about that drawbridge. We're gonna inhale and lift the drawbridge up. And then we're gonna exhale, we're gonna come all the way down. We're gonna do that a couple more times. Inhale, hips come up. Exhale, they come down. Once more, just like this. Inhale up. Exhale down. Now we're gonna bring our arms into the party. So just doing the same thing that we did, but using the arms. We're gonna inhale the hips up, the arms go back behind you, and then we're gonna exhale it down. Do that 3 more times for me. Inhale, hips go up, arms go back. Exhale, release. Last 2. Inhale up. Exhale down. This one will come all the way up. We'll inhale all the way up and then exhale all the way down. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna really stretch out the legs now. So we're gonna bring the knees in and I'm gonna cross my ankles, one on top of the other. So right now my right ankle is crossed. I'm gonna grab my toes and pull them in next to my glutes, next to my booty. So really stretching out, kind of really deep into the hips. And I want you to look at what leg you have on top because we're gonna switch it out. So we're just gonna take the legs and we're gonna switch, cross the ankles and bring those heels in by your glutes. Kind of like a pretzel. Okay, now we're gonna switch it up a little bit. We've got the ankles crossed. We're gonna cross the thighs now. So we're gonna put one thigh on top of the other and we're gonna pull those heels in by the glutes. And this is an even bigger stretch. If you can't grab the ankles, that's okay. You can grab your knees, you can grab your shins. You just do what your body says it can do today. Yoga is not about forcing yourself into a pose that's not comfortable. So one more breath. Look at the knee that's on top and we're gonna switch it out. So I'm gonna put my other leg on top. I'm gonna pull it in. Maybe your legs might be different from side to side. That's totally okay. Just a couple more breaths this way. And then slowly release. Again, let's do that windshield wiper. So our feet are wide and we're just gonna let them fall side to side. Just a few times on each side. And now we're gonna work our belly a little bit because it is important to protect your back. Your belly actually protects your back. So we're gonna work it out a little bit. So bring your knees up like you're sitting in a chair, but you're still sitting on your back. And then we're gonna bring our arms like we could maybe clap our hands above our head. So we're gonna work our belly, but we're also gonna work our brain. Your brain is gonna have to work really hard and it might trick you on this. And if it tricks you, that's okay, This is just a good way of making your brain work even better, because you're making both sides of your brain fire. Your brain does different things on each side, and so this is going to be a way to train your brain. So on the inhale, I want you to think about taking your left leg and your right arm. We're gonna go long. And then we're gonna exhale and bring it back. We're gonna inhale, we're gonna take the right leg and the left arm long. Exhale, bring it back. Feel how your belly has to work. Your left leg and your right arm, and then bring it back. Your right leg and your left arm, bring it back. Let's do 3 more on each side. Left leg and right arm, and back. Right leg and left arm, and back. Left leg and right arm, and back. And you might notice as we do this, right leg and left arm, and back, it's getting easier because your brain's figured it out. Left leg and right arm, and back to center. Last one. Right leg and left arm, and then back. Hug yourself. Give yourself a big old hug. Maybe you even bring your neck off of the mat and you really squeeze it in. And then let's go ahead and place the legs, take the legs up to the sky. So you're really reaching the legs up to the sky. We're gonna do a little bit more for the belly here. You're going to exhale. I'm probably gonna have to hold this mic in place, but we're gonna exhale and we're gonna reach forward and we're gonna gaze forward. Feel that belly work. And then we're gonna inhale, relax the back. Exhale, reach forward, gaze forward. Inhale back. Let's do 3 more of those. Exhale up. Inhale back. Exhale up. Inhale back. Last one. Exhale up and inhale back. All right, one more thing for the belly, and this is good for your booty too. We're going to use the belly, and we're not going to use momentum. Momentum means, in this pose, it means you're kind of cheating. I want you to use the belly. So we're going to just raise the booty up off of the mat. We're going to bring it up and then down. We'll do that 2 more times. Bring it up and down. Last one, up and down. Perfect. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and let's do one little stretch of the arms. So we're gonna bring the arms up and we're gonna make a square right above the face. And then I want you to think about your left elbow. You're gonna take it to the left side of your mat, and then maybe you're gonna look over your right shoulder. And then we'll bring it back through center, and we're gonna take the right elbow to the right. Maybe you look over your left shoulder. So really stretching out the shoulders. Bring the elbows back and then bring them up over your head, making a picture frame around your head. And then back to center. All right, so now we're coming up off the mat, but we're gonna do it in a fun way that's gonna work your belly. So I want you to come into a little ball, and we're gonna begin to rock front to back. And maybe we're gonna find a spot where we can pause. Your belly has to work so hard to keep you here. If you want, you can bring your feet down. This is called boat pose. So sitting up like this, you can see how you look like a boat. If you want, you can bring your hands forward. Your belly is working so hard to be here. I don't want your back rounding though. I want you to sit up nice and tall. Maybe one more deep breath. And then we're gonna bring it down. All right, so finding a seated pose. So we're gonna come back into a little bit of breathing now that we're up. So I want you to think about rolling your shoulders back and down. Do that 2 more times. So we're gonna bring them up by the ears and back and down. Once more, up and back and down. Perfect. Okay, we're gonna do a little range of motion, which just means the motion that your body naturally makes. we're gonna do a little bit of range of motion of the neck. So sitting here, we're gonna turn the neck. We're just gonna turn your chin toward one side. We're gonna try not to pull the other side forward. One more breath here and a nice rotation. And then back through center. And then we're gonna turn the opposite way. And then back to center. Now we're gonna do lateral flexion. That just means bending to the side. So this is flexion, but lateral flexion. So we're gonna keep the shoulders and we're just gonna bend the neck to the side. Keep this other shoulder down. It's gonna wanna hug your ear, but you're gonna keep it down. You should feel a nice stretch through the side of your neck. And then we'll come back through center. And then we'll bend the neck to the opposite side. Again, keep that shoulder down. One more breath. We'll come back through center. And now we're gonna do flexion. So we're just gonna flex the chin to the chest. You should feel a really nice stretch kind of between your shoulders at the back of your neck. And then come through center, and then we're gonna extend. So we're gonna look up at the sky. And as you're here, think about this muscle. You feel a really nice stretch through the front of your neck. I want you to think about your chin, and we're just gonna jut the chin forward. So it's gonna look kind of weird, but we're gonna take the chin and we're gonna go. And so that gives you a big stretch. There's a fun muscle right here at the front. It kind of looks like a plate. So it's called the platysma. It's a fun word to say. So you learned about your platysma today. You can tell people that fun word, but it's just this muscle that you feel stretching here. Come back to center. Now we're gonna kind of do just a little bit of full rotation. So we're just gonna let the neck turn one way, and then we're gonna let the neck go the other way. Do that maybe once more, kind of a big arc. And then come back through center. Now we're gonna do a little bit of stretch for the wrists, because the wrists get a lot of work in yoga. We're gonna use them quite a bit here in a minute. So bring your arms forward and we're gonna push like you're just pushing someone away. And then we're gonna take one hand and we're just gonna gently pull the fingertips back. And then switch it out. We're gonna pull the other fingertips back. So you're extending your wrist here. And now we're gonna bring our hands down. And then we're gonna bring one hand and we're gonna kind of pull the wrist back. A really nice stretch for your forearm. This is a muscle called your brachioradialis, and it works really hard for you. We're gonna flex the opposite one, really get a nice stretch there. And then let's move the shoulders a little bit. So we're gonna do, we just did it, but I like to kind of exaggerate the breath. So we're gonna breathe in, and then we're gonna bring them back together like you're gonna think of your scapula, which are your shoulder blades, them hugging, kissing behind you, and then we're gonna bring it down. But we're gonna do a really exaggerated sound. So we're gonna breathe in, and we're gonna go back, and we're gonna go, so breathe in, and back, and once more, breathe in, and back, and let it go. Perfect. Okay, so from here, let's get a little bit of work into the arms. So we're gonna place the left hand down beside you. Maybe you're on your fingertips, maybe you're down on the side of your wrist, and we're just gonna lean and laterally flex to that side. I want you to make sure that you keep that opposite hip down on the mat though. And then we're gonna switch it out. Just a couple breaths here. And then we're kind of gonna flow. So we're gonna breathe up, and then we're gonna breathe out. Breathe in and out. Maybe one more. And then slowly back to center. Now we're gonna find a twist. So we'll do this kind of the same thing with the arms, but we're gonna twist the body. So inhale, really extend those shoulders up, and then exhale, we're gonna twist to the side. Inhale through center, Exhale, twist. Do that 2 more times. Inhale up. Exhale, twist. Inhale up. Exhale, twist. We'll do 1 more. And then we're gonna come back through center, but we're gonna hold that twist. So we're just gonna twist to the side. Maybe you have your hand on your knee and you could just twist the tiniest bit more, but don't force it. And then come through center and we're just gonna switch it out. So a really good twist. You should feel a good twist through your belly. This is good if you ever have belly aches, like if you get a tummy ache, this is a great way to help yourself. Slowly come back to center. Now your legs are crossed. Switch out the one that's in front. So it's kind of gonna feel a little different here. So kind of rock side to side on your hips, and then we're gonna fold forward. So we're just gonna come forward. Really reach, stretch through the hands, but you've got your booty still on the mat. Just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly come back up. All right, now we're gonna stretch out the legs a little bit. So go ahead and bring your feet forward. So this is called staff pose. So you're kind of like a long staff here. I want you to kind of move the skin out from underneath your booty so that you feel like you're sitting really strong into the mat or into your floor. And then your feet are super active. Your toes are pointing up to the ceiling. So you've kind of grounding down through the back of your legs and then just fold forward. So if you have really tight legs, this might be kind of hard for you. So be kind. If you are an athlete, if you play any sports, you might not be able to fold as far as you want. Some people can fold their head and touch their legs, but not everybody can do that. This is about as far as I can go, and I'm okay with it. Slowly come back up. Now we're going to take one leg and we're going to make a triangle. So you're going to bring your foot into the inside of your leg. We're going to sit up really tall, and then we're going to turn the body just a little bit so that it's coming down that extended leg, and then we're going to walk out over that leg. So you should really feel, again, a nice deep stretch through the back of that leg. And then slowly come up, and we're just gonna do a baby twist. So you're just gonna baby twist to that knee. And now we're gonna do something that I love. I think it feels really good for the hips. You're gonna grab your foot and you're just gonna do a little, I like to think about the number 8. Just kind of working through that hip, moving that femur, which is your longest bone of your body. It makes up the top half of your leg. Working it around in your hip. Your hip has a ball and socket. So the top of your femur looks like a kind of a ball, and it rolls around in your hip. So you can kind of think about that when you're moving your leg like this. And now we're just gonna switch it out. So we're gonna bring the opposite leg in. We're gonna bring that leg in to the inside of the leg. Slowly turn down that extended leg and then fold forward, finding that really nice stretch down the back of the leg. Just a couple more breaths here. And then slowly come up. Now we're gonna grab that leg again and we're gonna do the same thing. So we're just kind of gonna move that femur around in your hip bone, just really getting some motion. You actually have fluid in there, like a liquid that keeps your joints moving smoothly. So this is a good way to move those joints safely. Okay. Now we're going to come into one of those animal poses I was talking about. We're going to come into butterfly pose. So you all have done this. You can flap your butterfly wings. That feels so good on your hips. And then we're going to fold forward into that butterfly. So just a few breaths here, feeling that low back really, really release. And then we're slowly going to come up. So you can do that one again, just the same way that we did. Or another animal is a tortoise. So we're going to take the feet out just a little bit more. You're going to take your hands and you're going to place them underneath your legs, and you're going to slowly come forward. So you're kind of getting a nice shoulder stretch and a back stretch, kind of thinking about a tortoise curled up in his safe little shell. And then slowly come all the way up. Now we'll do a little twist, and then we'll move into a different position. So we're going to bring one knee up into the chest. We're going to sit up really nice and tall. And then whichever knee you have pointing up, we're going to take the opposite hand. We're going to bring it up to the sky, really reach up out of that shoulder, and then we're going to twist. We're going to give that knee a hug. You can stay right here, or you can twist all the way around. You can stay right here, or if you want to play with your balance a little bit, there's a lot of fun balancing in yoga. You can take this hand and place it on the outside of your foot. Maybe you bring your foot up, and if you want to, you can take your arm behind you. So you're looking to the side, really getting a good balance. Let me move so you can see. And then slowly bring that back, and we'll do the opposite side. So we'll bring that opposite knee in, sit up nice and tall. Whatever knee is bent, we're going to bring the other arm up nice and tall, and then we're going to twist over that knee. And then you can stay right here, or maybe you take this hand that's on the outside of your knee, you place it on the outside of your foot and hover that foot up. Maybe you take your arm and you reach back behind you. You can even look over that thumb. And then slowly come back to center. We're going to hug those knees in. Give yourself a big cuddle in. And now we'll come down onto our belly. So go ahead and make your way down onto your belly. And we're going to do a couple of more of those animal poses. So we're going to come all the way down onto the belly. And we're going to have our hands right underneath our shoulders. So you've got a hand underneath each shoulder, and you just rest your forehead on the mat for just a breath. You've got the tops of your feet grounding into the mat behind you. And then I want you to think, when you breathe in the next time, think about not pushing down very hard at all through the hands. Your back is doing this work. We're going to inhale up. And then we'll exhale, breathe out and come down. And do that again. Inhale up. This is called baby cobra. So think about that cobra snake in South America, Africa, and we're going to look like a baby cobra. Inhale up, and then exhale, release. All right. Bring your hands out long now. You've got your hands kind of like octopus tentacles, really nice and wide. And then we're going to inhale up, kind of the same thing. So this they call seal pose. So you think about a seal and how they kind of use their flippers. So your hands are flippers. And then slowly come back down. Now we're going to work our legs a little bit. So place one hand on top of the other. We're going to bring the legs up like you're kicking up behind you. And then we're just going to raise one leg and lower it. Raise the other and lower. Just do that a couple of times, working out the legs. And now we're going to come into another animal, one that hops and makes a ribbit sound. You're going to keep your belly on the mat, but we're going to bring one leg out to the side. So the best way to do it is probably to rest your head down. You've got your one leg out to the side like a frog. So hang it out in a half frog. You can do a full frog, but this one is a little bit easier to start with. Just a couple more breaths here with the frog leg out to this side. and then bring that leg in, and we're gonna switch it out. So we're just gonna bend the other knee. It's gonna come out to the side. Maybe you rest your forehead. The leg that's straight, the top of the foot is down on the mat. So just a couple breaths here. And then slowly bring that leg in. And now we're gonna use our hands. Super strong. You're gonna push yourself up to your hands and knees. So we're gonna come into the hands and knees. You've got your knees are right underneath your hips, and my hands are right underneath my shoulders. So I'm making, they call this 4 posts. So it's, if you think about 4 posts that are really grounding into the ground. We're gonna do another animal, another couple of animals here. This is maybe a yoga pose that you've done before. The tops of your feet are on the mat. We're gonna inhale. We're gonna let the belly drop down, and we're gonna gaze up kind of to where your wall meets your ceiling. This is called cow pose. Moo like a cow. And then we're gonna exhale. We're gonna pull the belly in around the back, kind of gaze down to the mat. This is cat pose. Kind of hard to tell with my baggy shirt. Inhale, cow pose, belly drops. Exhale, round cat pose. Once more. Inhale, cow. Gaze up, really stretch that platysma. Again, exhale, cat. And we'll come back to center. Now we're gonna do some big circles of the hips. So we're just gonna circle the hips, moving one way. And then we'll come back to center, and then we'll circle the hips the other way. And then come back through center. And now let's go ahead and we'll come into a little bit of a twist. I'm gonna place my right hand right down underneath my face. My left fingertips, I'm gonna bring them up. We're gonna think about kind of like an elephant's trunk here. So we're gonna inhale, the elephant's trunk goes up. We're gonna exhale, we're gonna pull it through. They call this thread the needle. Inhale, up, exhale, pull it through. We'll do that one more time. Inhale, up, exhale through. And then this last time we're gonna come into a twist. So this time we're gonna come all the way down, and we're gonna rest. Just a few breaths here. You can let your head rest down on the mat. You can take your top arm up above your head. One more breath here. And then use your hand, push yourself up. And now we'll switch to the other side. So we're gonna come into that elephant trunk on the opposite side. So your left hand is gonna come down underneath your face. We're gonna inhale, the right arm goes up, and then exhale, thread it through. Inhale, that trunk swings open. Exhale down. Let's do one more. Moving. And then this next one, we're gonna hold that twist. So we're gonna bring that arm through, rest the ear, and then maybe your hand comes above you. Just a few breaths here, really feeling a good stretch underneath your shoulder blade. And then use the top hand to push yourself up. Let's do a little bit of cat and cow. We'll drop the belly, gaze up. Exhale, round. One more. Drop the belly. Exhale, round. All right, now I want you to tuck your toes on the back. We're going to sit back on those toes. So you're going to stretch the bottom of your feet here. And then let's just let our hands kind of windshield wiper and open up a little bit. So you're opening up the tops of your feet. You're sitting back on your heels, so you should feel a really good stretch on the bottom of your feet. Now we're gonna switch it out. We're gonna place the feet down on the mat, and you're gonna sit back on those heels, and maybe you even come back on them. So I'm resting on the top of my feet now, which doesn't ever really get a very good stretch. So stretching there, and then slowly come back to center. Now we're gonna take the right leg forward, coming into a little lunge, and just move back and forth. So we're gonna come forward, and back. We'll do that a couple more times. And then we'll balance our hands on our knee. We're gonna bring that left arm, so whatever arm is not the bent knee, so my opposite arm, and we're gonna lean to the side. So you should feel a really good stretch of your belly on the leg that's down on the mat. One more breath here. And then back to center. And now we're just gonna switch it out. So we're gonna bring the opposite leg forward, and we're just gonna roll back and forward. Just a few more times, moving through that hip. And then we're gonna find where we can pause, come up, balance on that knee, and whichever arm is not with the bent knee, we're gonna bring that opposite arm up, and then we're gonna lean over that bent knee. Just a couple more breaths here, really practicing that balance. And then slowly come back to center. Now let's play with our balance just a little bit more. So we're gonna come back to those hands and knees, and this is called Spinal Balance. So this is really a exercise for your belly. So think about pulling your belly in and making sure that your belly is nice and tight. We're gonna take the right foot forward, and then we're gonna bring the right foot up. So your toes are pointing down to the mat. Maybe you could put a plate on your low back if you wanted to, just to see, or think about a plate being there so that you've kind of got a flat spine. And you can stay right here, or we're gonna take the opposite arm. So my left arm is gonna point forward. My palm is pointing toward my nose. So just a couple more breaths here. Spinal balance. If you wiggle, if you fall out of it, that's totally normal because this is a hard pose. One more breath. And then we're gonna rest it down. Now we'll kind of shift the hips side to side, and then we're gonna switch it out. So we're gonna take our left foot forward and then use the belly. We're gonna bring that foot up. My toes are pointing down to the mat. And then we're gonna bring that right arm forward into spinal balance. You're looking down at the mat to protect your neck. And use your belly. It's what's keeping you here. And then slowly bring everything down. Go ahead and tuck your toes again. And this time we're gonna go ahead and come up on those toes. So I'm balancing on my toes. And then from here, my heels are up off the ground. We're gonna play with our balance. So we're gonna slowly come all the way up, balancing on those toes. Yikes, if you fall, you fall. But balancing on those toes, standing up nice and tall. And now we're gonna come into something called chair pose. So you can put your feet down on the mat. My heels are down on the mat. My feet are about like my hip width apart. This would be too wide, just standing like you normally would. You can bring your hands to your heart, and then we're gonna sit our booty back like we're trying to sit back into a comfy chair. So holding here, pulling your belly in. Just a couple more breaths here. If you want to be crazy, you can come back up on those toes, lift your heels, see what happens. And then we'll go ahead and we'll come all the way up. We'll reach like a big sun. Let's do that a couple of times, and then we'll bring our hands down. Inhale, reach up. Maybe you look up like a big sun. And then exhale. One more. Inhale up. Exhale. Now we're going to kind of move to the side a little bit. So we'll inhale up, and we're going to exhale, lean to one side. Inhale up through center. Exhale, lean to the other side. We'll do that one more time on each side. Inhale up. Exhale, lean. Inhale up, exhale, lean. All right, so now we're gonna move a little bit. So we'll inhale up one more time, We're going to exhale, fold all the way forward. If you're not at the front of your mat, go ahead and step there. We're going to bring our hands down to the mat, and we're going to step our feet back, coming into a downward dog. So downward dog. Y'all have probably done this pose, but you're really grounding down into your hands, thinking about what a dog looks like to stretch out. Maybe you bend one knee and then the other knee. Your heels do not have to touch your mat. That's not a rule here. Just a couple more breaths. And now we're going to move a little bit. We're going to think about a mama dog, and then we're going to use our belly. And we're going to hover our knees and think about a baby puppy. And then we're going to exhale back to the big mama dog. Inhale, our knees hover, baby puppy. We'll do that one more time. Exhale, mama. Inhale, puppy. And now we'll exhale back to that mama, and we'll walk our fingertips forward. So I've got my fingers on the mat. I've got my knees bent, and I'm just going to bend one knee and then the other. And then I'm going to put my right hand down in front of my face. I'm going to bend my right knee, and then I'm going to open up my left hand into a nice twist. You're going to feel this through your left side. One more breath here. And then I'm going to close it off. I'm going to put my left fingertips down, bend my left knee, open up to the right for the twist on the other side. And then slowly down. And now we're going to think about a rag doll, a baby doll made out of cloth. And we're going to come up like that rag doll. We're going to roll slowly all the way up. And then once we're at the top, we're going to roll those shoulders like a rag doll would roll it out. And now we'll move a little bit more. So step to the front of your mat if you're not there already. And then I want you to keep your right foot at the front. We're going to take a big step back with our left foot, and we're going to hover our left heel. So this is called high crescent. So like a crescent moon, at the very height of a crescent moon. And then you can take your hands up right by your ears, or you can bring your hands to your heart. I like bringing my hands to my heart. I think it makes it a little easier to balance. So hanging out here in high crescent, and now maybe we'll move a little bit. We're going to work our legs just a little bit. Let's do 5 of these. We're going to exhale. We'll bend that knee. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bend. Inhale, lengthen. Last 3. Last 2. And then last 1. All right, so here comes a fun part. Remember that chair pose that we did a few minutes ago? We're going to use this leg that is at the front, and we're going to kick off with the back leg. We're going to move to chair. So like this. So hanging out in chair pose now. Just a couple breaths here. And then we're going to take a big step back with the other leg. So I had my right leg forward last time. I'm going to keep my left leg forward this time, and I'm going to take a big step back with the right one. Again, your hands can be up. Maybe you want to do them different this time. That's okay. They can be up. They can be at your heart. Sometimes this like field goal position is fun. Whatever feels the best. We're going to do 5 of those little knee bends. So we're going to exhale, bend. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, bend. Inhale, lengthen. Last 3. Last 2. And then last 1. Perfect. Go ahead again. That crazy chair pose. Big step. Chair pose. One more breath here. And then come on up. Now we're going to step lengthwise on our mat. So making a big wide stance with your legs. Let's have our feet, our toes pointing out, and the heels are kind of pointing together. So your feet are kind of pointed out just a little bit. excuse me, we're going to come into a pose called horse pose. So another animal. So hands can come to your hips. They can come to your heart. Sometimes it's fun to bring them out. You can bring them up. I'm going to bring mine to I want to bring them in my hips. We're going to exhale down into horse pose. So bending the knees, you can hang out right here. This is really hard if you hold it long enough. Or maybe we lift the right heel and we bring it down. We lift the left heel and down, maybe twice more on each side. Right heel goes up and down, left heel up and down. Once more. If you're getting tired, it's great. That's what we're trying to do. We'll inhale up, take a breath, and then we'll come back into it. All right, so we're going to move just a little bit. So I'm going to bring my arms out, and I'm going to stand up, and then I'm going to bring them down and bend. Inhale up. So this is kind of like a starfish. If you think about a starfish, maybe one more. And then this last one, we're going to hold. So holding in starfish. One deep breath. And then go ahead and come on up. Now we'll do in yoga what we call warrior pose. So I'm going to bring my left foot in. You see that I moved it in just a little bit. So it's kind of parallel with the back of my mat. And then my right foot is going to turn to where it's parallel with the length of my mat. And then from here, I'm going to bend my front knee, but my hip bones are pointing toward the side of my mat. You can stay right here. You can have your hands on your hips, or what we think about when we see Warrior 2 looks like this. So we've got you see your big toe with your knee bent. You make sure you protect your knee by seeing your toe. Your arms come out to the side, and then maybe you gaze over that middle finger of that extended hand. One more deep breath here. And then we're going to do what we call a reverse warrior. So nothing crazy. We just flip that front palm up and we go backwards so that we're bending back over that straight leg. One breath here. And then come back to center. And now we're going to come into what we call a triangle pose. So you're going to straighten this bent knee. It's going to straighten. Maybe your feet come a little closer together. Arms come back out. We're going to bring the body over that extended leg, and then we're going to fold so that the body looks kind of like a triangle. One more breath here. You can have a little bend in this front knee if that feels good. Absolutely. One breath, and then use your belly. Whew, brings you up. And now we're just going to switch it out. So we're going to switch the legs the opposite way. So I'm going to bring myself into Warrior 2 with my feet the opposite way on the mat. So again, that bent knee, I can see my big toe on that leg. If you can't see your toe, scoot your feet out a little bit more and it'll protect your knee. And then we're going to bring the arms out. Maybe we gaze over that middle finger. You actually feel like you're trying to pull the mat apart with your feet here. Your legs are so active. And then we're just going to flip that palm up to the sky and bring ourselves into our reverse warrior. And then go ahead and come back to Warrior 2. Now we're going to move into our triangle. So we're going to straighten that leg. We're going to take ourselves out over that extended leg and then pivot to come down into triangle pose. But you're grounding in equally through both of your feet here. One more breath. And then slowly up. We're going to bring the feet back together. And now we're going to do something fun. We're going to heel toe the feet together. And now let's balance just a little bit more. And then we're going to come down. We're going to come into my favorite part of a yoga class, which is the end, the relaxation part, because you worked really hard for it. Okay, So I want you to think about your feet like a piece of pizza. So I'm looking down at my feet and it looks like I could have a little piece of pizza between my toes. My heels are pushing together. I want you to think about pushing your heels together because that's going to make your booty work, and your booty has to work to get you into this pose. So now I'm going to ground into my toes and I'm going to lift my heels. So kind of like a ballerina, your heels are pushing together and then you're going to bend your knees. So let's do 10 of these because that's really hard. We're going to bend the knees and we're going to come up. We're going to bend and come up. If you fall out of it, you fall out. If you lose your balance, that's fine. We'll do 5 more. I might have messed that up. Counting is not my favorite thing in a yoga class. Okay, last 2. And now we're going to come into what I call drinking bird. So we're going to bring the heels back to parallel, but I'm still up on my toes. We're going to begin to bend the knees. So kind of that chair pose with the heels up. And then from here, hands can come to your heart. We're going to begin to bring the chest down. So pretend like you're a bird and you're leaning down into a pond to get a big drink of water. Breathe, breathe, breathe. And then the most fun part of this is you're going to use your belly. Oh, and you're going to come all the way back up. And then you bring your heels down. Whew, you did it. Rock side to side. And then we're going to come down to the mat. So if you want, you can be silly and come back up on those toes. And maybe you balance all the way down. And if you fall, you fall. Maybe you go from here, like where we started. We came into that boat pose. You can bring yourself up into that boat. Whew. It might be easier now because you've worked your belly so much. And now we're going to roll all the way back down onto the mat. So just make sure you've got space. Bring your knees in. Rock side to side. And now we'll bring our feet down to the mat. We're going to cross the right thigh really tight over the left. We're going to think about a twisted root. So they call it this pose, twisted root. So think about looking at a tree and you see how the roots sometimes get twisted in on each other. So that's what we're going to think of. We're going to let the arms come out to the side nice and wide, and we're going to let the knees fall to the left in that nice twisted root. And then just settle in, close your eyes. We'll take a couple of breaths. And then slowly come up. We'll twist the legs the opposite way. Let your knees fall to the right. Maybe you gaze out over your left fingertip. And then slowly come back to center. Now one more time in that happy baby. So grabbing your legs and just letting yourself rock side to side. And then now you made it to the best part, Savasana. So kind of how we started class, just finding your breath again. So you can have your legs out, your arms flat. You can have your knees bent kind of in together like a tent. If you want to grab a pillow or a blanket, you can stay here as long as you want, as long as you have your breath. We'll just take a few moments. So you're just going to find your breath. Close your eyes, maybe grab a blanket if you're chilly, and just settle in. So we'll just take a few moments. Let your breath come back to your body. Begin to pay attention to it again. and begin to bring small movements. So wiggle your fingers and your toes. Maybe roll your wrists and your ankles. Maybe shift your hips a little bit. Rotate your neck a little bit. And then you could reach one final time. Kind of think of a big long pencil. Really stretch and lengthen through the spine. Maybe we'll exhale. We'll pull the left knee in. Give it a hug. Inhale it out. Exhale, the right knee comes in. Inhale, really lengthen one more time. And then we're going to roll over onto our side into what we call fetal pose. So think about the pose a baby would be in the mommy's belly. We're going to take a couple of breaths that we call cleansing breaths in yoga. Remember when I was telling you that your breath is your friend? So this is one that can really help you if you're anxious or stressed. So we're going to breathe in through the nose. You're going to breathe in all the fresh air you can. We're going to breathe in. And then when you're ready to let it go, you're going to make a big sigh. You're going to go, So we'll do that one more time. Inhale through the nose. And then exhale. And then slowly push yourself up to a seated. We're going to find that simple seated pose, kind of rocking back and forth, maybe taking that circle of the body. And then bringing your hands to your heart. Y'all, I hope that you had fun. I hope that you have an even more fun spring break and that you get to enjoy some time outside, see some beautiful nature, maybe have a nice walk with a friend or just something to have a little bit of pause before you go back to school. I wish you health within your body, stillness in your mind, and so much peace within your soul. Thank you all. Thank you.